You're listening to the Home and Outdoor Living Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Garcia, and my goal is to educate you on various home living topics and provide you with actionable steps to take in your projects. If you're a homeowner, you're in the right place. On to today's episode. Welcome back, everybody, to the Home and Outdoor Living Podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and today I've got a special guest. We've got the Director of Education at Atlantic Water Gardens. He's been driving the industry for 33 years. Demi, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure, Michael. Great to be here.
Yes, thank you. I remember we met back last spring at like a contractor type event doing a workshop with your features. And you guys have some competitive advantages in the market. But before we get to that, I remember growing up, I wasn't exposed to water features or water gardens at all. Like none, unless I went to a conservation area or, went to the lake or something like that. That was my only exposure to water gardens. And I was born in the early 90s and water gardens started to kick off. But, I went almost 30 years not seeing it. And so what's important about water features? Like, why would someone even consider it?
Water features themselves offer a whole new set of sensory delights. I mean, you have the water in motion with the sparkling of the sunlight off water. You've got the sound of water. You're going to be bringing animals and insects to the garden that way. It's always been considered an essential part of most formal gardens and, of course, all Asian gardens. And it's always been a little daunting for folks because they haven't known how to get water into the garden in a way that they won't have extra maintenance, or they might have, they think they might have problems with leaking and that sort of thing. So the challenge has been, since the 90s, when there's been an explosion in interest in water gardening, is to present products that make water gardening easy. And there's lots of different ways, lots of different areas that you can bring water into, between outdoor living areas or backyard ponds, pond-free systems in front of businesses or at schools where you have an underground reservoir, so there's no risk or liability. And they all bring that charm, that the thrill of water that is really enticing and appeals to pretty much everyone.
Yeah, one of the things I hear the most is you don't know it until you experience it, right? And so, we could have these beautiful features and the water trickling and all that good stuff, but what does that mean for a homeowner or for a business? It's going to have one of these features in the yard somewhere. Like, they're going to go out, they're going to see it. What are they going to get out of it?
Well, basically, you do get year-round interest as far as what it looks like and what it sounds like. It also can micro-cool an area or warm an area. Water is a buffer, so you can put water in a courtyard in a warm location and actually bring the temperature down. In cooler locations, water actually buffers the ambience, so that you can grow things like camellias in northern climates if they're near a water feature. But it also buffers noise. One of the most interesting uses of a water feature is to use the sound of a close-by water feature to eliminate the noise of traffic in the distance, or of a busy playground, or a lot of background noise, air conditioners, that sort of thing. So there are a lot of actual concrete uses for water. And then, of course, the absolute delight of playing in a fish pond where the fish are nibbling at your fingers, or splashing in the water of a pond-free water feature where kids can go play on a graveled surface that has a little bit of water without any fear of, falling into the water or getting into water that's too deep. Every hardscape is really enhanced by water and light, and we do many different kinds of features that have the light integrated into the water feature. So you can bring that sound and that interest into an otherwise hard environment, walls and patios, and it softens those environments. So between the sound and the view and the actual tactile delight of playing with the water, which we all know about from the time we're little kids, the temptation to jump in the mud puddles stays with people like me our whole lives. This is something that we feel is something that everyone can enjoy pretty much anywhere.
I definitely agree with that. And you brought up an interesting point about the sound in today's highly urbanized world, buffering out sound from neighbors or from road traffic. These are key things, right? Because it can turn the most expensive landscape into an actual functional one now, right? Because you're essentially adding a shield to keep road noise or other undesirable noise out, right?
Sure. And that's without needing to turn on your iPad and set it to white noise and listen to the
Right.
surf. And you can have that live in the backyard. And also, there are environmental benefits for wildlife. Most ponds can be set up in a way that animals can come to drink. Insects are always looking for an open water source. Bees need water constantly, and it's something that we have to really think about because our bees are critical. And water sources bring them that people don't have to be worried about. They're coming to drink. In fact, in some places, if you put a water source in and a hollow log next to it, you'll actually be guaranteed to get a beehive. It's that kind of attraction. In arid areas, I know friends in Arizona who put water features up and have bobcats come and drink at the water. So there are a lot of benefits, especially in urban environments when open water sources for any kind of wildlife are few and far between.
And I mean, you brought up some great points there about attracting the wildlife. But something that I'll often hear, especially from our landscape clients, is they're fearful of that, right? Like to have the mosquitoes, to have the bees, certainly in the arid climates, the bobcat. I mean, that bobcat near the family is probably, that's going to be a fear point. Like what do we do about that? How do we approach it?
Well, let's take the insects like mosquitoes, because that's a big point. A lot of people think that a water feature is going to actually attract mosquitoes or generate a lot of mosquito larvae. Actually, usually, if the water feature is well constructed, let's take a small pond, for example, any mosquitoes that come and lay their eggs there are just food for the fish. The larvae don't survive. Now, there are poorly constructed ponds that have stagnant areas, perhaps, that might do that. But today, most people are very well educated in how to build a pond in a way that fish can get to every bit of the perimeter and the surface. So mosquitoes typically are less frequent near ponds than they would be, let's say, near an old bird feeder or bird bath where you have stagnant water, or for that matter, old tires and that sort of thing. So in many cases, the pond will actually draw and eliminate the mosquito population. Bees at ponds are interested in drinking. They don't pay you any attention whatsoever, so you don't have to worry about those. It's a distraction. So some of the other creatures that you might be bothered with if they didn't have a water source to be attracted to are just so thrilled to have the water that they never pay you any attention whatsoever. And yeah, in areas where you have wildlife close to the house, they will come to drink. But if you have wildlife close to the house anyway, hey, that's something you've learned to deal with. I know in New Jersey, the garbage pails have to be bear-proof. Water feature isn't going to change that one way or the other. They can be built, by the way, so that whatever is attracted isn't attracted to the home; it's attracted to the backyard water feature, which is again a welcome distraction if that is a concern.
Yep, no, fair enough. That makes sense. Essentially what you're saying is in today's day and age with the technology that we have, with the systems, the way they're designed or engineered, one way or another, they're going to deal with, I guess, the nuisances that might come with wildlife, right? Aside from, having a bear or a bobcat on the property, right? The only thing to do with that is that the feature should be some distance away or a safe distance, while they're around. But in those cases, probably you're already in that environment, so they're going to be around anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to bring anything from far away. And, you'd much rather have a deer come and drink at your pond than be messing with your vegetables in your garden.
Yep.
No, it can be very helpful.
Yep. Fair enough. Well, I guess that gives us a little bit about like why we would include a water feature, right? From the, the health benefits to sound distraction to welcoming wildlife, just to having a visually appealing feature in the yard. But what options are available? Most of our listeners, they're not going to have any understanding of what's available. So can you share with us a little bit about different ways we can include water features and what they look like?
Sure. Let's talk about where you can locate a water feature. It's a simple one-word answer: anywhere. From a hospital or hotel lobby where the negative ions generated by falling water give a healthful feeling for the area and drop pollens and dust out of out of the atmosphere. And many water features are designed to work in indoor environments to humidify. No splash, very little sound. And then there are hardscape features that are going to be in that patio or outdoor living area next door to the kitchen or the fire pit. And those are going to offer this new textile and tactile sensation of the water, plus the sound, etc. If you have a backyard that's a little more natural looking, you can always put in a pond tree or a pond in the back there. And that gives you a totally different area that might attract wildlife. Or fountains are huge these days. They could be in the front of the house or in an entryway. They can be very, very modest. Single fountain head with a light around it, small receptacle or reservoir in the front of an entryway. Or they can be huge. I mean, think of the Bellagio fountain tech division of Awaza literally does kilometer-long fountain installations. So there's no real restriction as to actually what size or where you want to put a water feature. That's more the imagination of the customer and the contractor building the feature. There are water features literally for pretty much everybody. And what's nice is, especially these days where hardscapes have grown to, if not replace the huge interest in ponds, at least to add a tremendous amount of interest in urban areas and areas with smaller backyards, more modest areas. Now we have a ton of different products, and I'm talking about industry-wide, not just us, although we happen to be a leader in that area, but smaller fountain and reservoir products that are very easy to install or plumb. They're very modest. Just to give you for instance, you could install a spout like this one in any wall. It just screws onto an 1.5 inch pipe, and you've got this beautiful brass fountain effect coming out of a wall. You can have a lit color falls like this, which is actually a simple fountain that gives you a stream of illuminated water coming out. In a space, this is only 6 inches wide. This can go into the post on a mailbox to support the mailbox. You can have a hidden reservoir buried at the base, zero maintenance, simple autofill. So there's very little you need to do or know these days to have a water feature. It wasn't like that in the past. In the past, it was mostly ponds with fish, and you know a little bit about the fish, and there weren't as many products that reduced maintenance, so you had more work to do. Nowadays, we've gotten pretty far into the low maintenance, easy upkeep, and even turnkey and app-based water features where you can vary the speed of a pump or the different colors of an LED system that's coloring your water right on your phone. So there isn't really any restriction. Everybody can have a water feature, and pretty much everybody is delighted by them.
Yeah, I'd say a misconception would be that, well, a water feature, well, that just means a pond, right? And I've got to deal with fish and an ecosystem now. What I'm hearing is that you've got these different fountains. They can be incorporated into pretty much any hardscape or any garden or really anything outside whatsoever. You can find a way to put some pipe together and restrain them, to have the sound of water, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and it's been really interesting. Since about 2007, when Newsweek had a title article that said staycation, the interest in outdoor living has gotten huge. Just to give you an example of how we've adapted to this interest, we create a variety of different basins that are fully self-contained. There are rigid ones that you just put in a patio or at the base of a wall, or there's flex basins that can be built into hardscape walls, engineered block walls. And all you have to do basically is drop a pump into the basin, take a pipe up to the decorative feature that you like, whether it's a spout or a scupper or a copper spillway such as this. Very, very easy to install in the block wall behind the feature, let's say, by removing a single block and placing that spillway in place of the block. They're actually designed to replace single, double, or triple blocks. So getting these things to fit into your lifestyle is very easy now. There are many more choices than there ever were. And people are starting to look for these choices. The staycation article was about people wanting to create that backyard oasis in their own home, because at that time, 2007 through 2010, maybe they couldn't sell their homes, or they had to stay in them, or they had to sell them. They wanted to enhance them in a way. And hardscape features just exploded. So these are really a great way of enhancing any area. And again, extremely low maintenance, very easy to set up, and very often controllable on your cell phone, which is kind of fun. That's a whole new thing that's come around in the last few years that we found very exciting.
Yeah, of course, making life easier is certainly a big thing right these days. So technology is evolving in that form. You mentioned maintenance a few times. When you say low maintenance, what can somebody expect to have maintenance maybe in a fountain and maybe some of these spillway products that you showed here, or, a pond, what are we expecting here?
For hardscape features, basically you've got a self-contained basin. Usually it's fitted with an autofill, a little valve that measures the water level, and that's set up with either a sprinkler system or a garden hose to top off the feature when the water levels drop as a result of natural evaporation or splash. So there's no need to worry about the pump running dry, right? The pumps run for years, 24/7, without any maintenance other than cleaning if you have a very hard water environment. Every now and then you check for lime scale. That's the only maintenance there. As far as filtration or cleaning goes, the hardscape products that we sell have double filters in all the products so that any debris is kept from the water in the first place. You may have to pull a leaf or two off a pebble every now and then, but that's about all the maintenance you need for the hardscape features. Ponds have gotten extraordinarily sort of technically easy these days with skimmers and filter falls. The falls need to be cleaned literally once or twice a year, and that takes 15 or 20 minutes. The skimmers, which remove all the surface debris before it gets into a pond, greatly reduce the maintenance and the debris on the bottom of the pond, and all you do is dump a net or a basket once a week, something like that. Filtration has gotten to the point where there are computerized filters that literally clean themselves, then call you up on the phone and say, hey, the temperature was this and the air temperature was that, and I just cleaned myself, and you're good to go for the next few days. We anticipate a cleaning next week. I mean, it's just become wonderful. In contrast, in the 80s when I started, we were making our own skimmers out of garbage pails. There was nothing out there. Nowadays, we have access to a suite of products across the industry, not just our products, but across the industry, that are designed to reduce maintenance, to make it easy for someone to walk into that backyard living area, let's say, and how people want to press a button and their fire pit lights up and their TV comes on. Well, it's the same with their water feature. They go on the app, they press the button, they adjust the flow on the app till the sound from the fountain is just what they like. They change the colors to suit their mood in their LED lighting system that's integrated through the whole backyard. And then they relax, and they need to have that because they don't have the time they used to have. The boomers spent a lot of time in their gardens doing all the maintenance tasks because they enjoyed it. Our customers now want a more automated and less time-consuming experience, and the market has actually changed to accommodate them.
Yeah, I guess it's changing in a way that the time-consuming part is time-consuming the enjoyment, not time maintaining it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, people want to spend the time sitting there and enjoying, not sitting there and cleaning, and that's what we've done. And again, this is across the industry, but our products happen to have been front and center. My president, Jeff Weemhoff, saw this coming in the mid-2000s, and we were set with more hardscape products earlier than a lot of folks, and then the hardscape boom just exploded, so we were really pretty. So the rest of the industry has caught up, and there's tons of products out there that lower maintenance and increase enjoyment, specifically because that's what is being asked, for. Demand drives production. That's how it works.
Yep. So basically, in today's market, you've got all the traditional features such as ponds and the traditional rock waterfalls, but now you've got these spillways, these ledges, these waterfalls that can be built into pretty much anything outside, whether it's a retaining wall or a patio or heck, even the side of a bricked house, right? And so something for everybody, and really there's nothing stopping anybody from having this enjoyment, right? Because there is a lot of benefits to it, as we talked about earlier.
Not only that, but we've tried to make it easy for the installers by creating everything in terms of systems. So a fountain system is anything that goes into a horizontal surface. Those are your basins that drop into the ground or sit on the ground, and then you put a copper bowl pouring water off, recirculating system, or a nozzle with a light on it, right? And then formal spillway systems go at the base of walls, and they have some kind of shear descent or spillway or spout, a water wall that brings water trickling down the face. Again, everything self-contained, all of the different components match so that you can actually take, one from column A, one from column B, and create any number or any style you like. That's made installation of these features as easy as the appreciation of them.
Yeah, and I think that would certainly impact the pricing, right? Because if you're working off a system, it's all streamlined for them from manufacturer, and you just plug and play, to a degree, and get it in there, right? So, and that way you have support all the way from manufacturer to installer to homeowner. And if the homeowner did happen to do a DIY and replace a contractor, they still have support.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll give you a quick, for instance. We were asked how to install a 3,000-pound granite sphere. Years ago, that would have involved creating a basin out of solid cement or a stainless steel basin, creating a pedestal that could support 3,000 pounds. If that were cement, we'd have to wait 2 weeks to 4 weeks. You're supposed to wait a minimum of 30 days for the cement to cure. We can now do a system like that that'll support 15,000 pounds in 2 hours, 3 hours. So the cost of labor for installing something like this concrete sphere on what are called water matrix blocks, which look like milk crates but support 15,000 pounds each, has dropped enormously. You dig a hole, you put a liner in the hole, you drop the blocks in, you put a ring that supports the 3,000-pound stone and leaves the stone high enough so your plumbing slips right under the ring and into the stone, and you're up and running in 4 or 5 hours. So it's made these features, which normally were the purview of architects and specialty contractors, accessible to the DIYer and all the contractors that are already familiar with hardscape, but maybe a little hesitant about water features. They need to be concerned no more about how to add water or light to the hardscape. It's that easy.
That's fantastic. Quite the evolution, to bring it down to that capacity, for sure, as anyone can imagine if they're in engineering. So let's talk a little bit about how somebody could get this, right? So in my perspective, there's always 2 points, right? There's through a professional and through the DIY route. Can you talk a little bit about each one of those?
Sure. So we have a network of contractors, or Atlantic professional contractors, and you can find them on our website. If you're looking for a specific expert in your area that does water features, and pretty much only water features, our Atlantic professional contractors are the people that love to do water features more than anything else. They'll do a whole suite of other things, but that's what they love. And you can always find a contractor that way. But most of our features are set up so that you can go into a local hardware store or a local distributor and purchase these features on your own as a homeowner. There are instructions in every box. That's one of my duties, is to make sure the instructions are clear and easy to read, easy to follow, which doesn't imply that everybody reads them anyway, which is why we have videos, because frankly, a lot more people are more comfortable with taking a look at a short video, and it shows you all the steps and tells you what to do, gives you an idea of final appearance, and maybe you go into the section of the website that shows you all the different finished products, so you get ideas before you start. And our products are literally available from dealers and distributors all over the country, as well as online. Online, we're very careful, just so your customers and clients and our viewers know, we want to make sure that we protect the brick and mortar industry as well. So we have a minimum advertised price policy that keeps a level ground regardless of how a customer wants to attain our products. We have full customer support for installation. My cell phone's published on the web, and I get calls from Dubai at 2 in the it doesn't matter where they're calling from. We help out because we want to see this industry thrive. This is our passion. We want to make sure we get as many people into it as easily as possible. So lots of ways to get the product, and lots of help installing it and maintaining.
Fantastic. So you've got a network of contractors that have been approved in some form or fashion to work with your products, right? And then otherwise a DIYer can go to local supplier to grab product. How would they locate a dealer? Is there a dealer tool on the site that they can track down?
Yeah, there's a dealer tool, there's a distributor tool. You just go in to find a dealer and look in your local area. We are in most of the sprinkler irrigation houses, that sort of thing. We're pretty well distributed across the country. There's no spots where you can't find our products. That's just a matter of looking at where you would prefer to purchase, basically.
Fantastic. Well, Demi, I appreciate you joining us today and sharing all this with us. Is there any final bit that you'd like to share with the viewer?
Well, I just wanted to say that this is something that pretty much everyone is going to enjoy and no one should be afraid of doing. Please come visit our website at www.atlanticwatergardens.com and check out, for example, Atlantic Water Gardens University, which is a open, easy, full instructional online university where you can take courses in the plumbing of water features and the different types of water features. There's no fee, there's no registration. There are tests if you want to take them, and you get a little certificate if you complete the test. But it's good open information. It's not product specific. It's not about our products only. It's about how to set up water features and water systems in the nicest way possible. And of course, there are other resources that we offer as well in marine harvesting and aeration, in the full suite of water enjoyment products, along with the full suite of Awaza. Awaza is the world's largest manufacturer of water equipment, and our Awaza side has water entertainment products like little dancing jets for kids in the garden, laminar jets, up to computerized filtration system. And, if you ever go to Budapest, there's a kilometer-long fountain system there that was designed and built by Awaza. So there's literally a ton of stuff you can find out on our website, and I encourage our viewers to go take a look and see what's possible. I'm sure they'll find something that they'll like, and I'm sure we can help them install it in their own home or for a customer.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Demi. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to Demi and Atlantic Water Gardens, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. If you found value in this episode, you can support us for free by subscribing, rating, and reviewing this podcast. See you next time.